Lawrence Okolie defends his WBO title against Michael Cieslak. Let's talk about it. Well, WBO Cruiserweight Champion Lawrence Okolie returned to the ring and gets a 12-round unanimous decision over Michael Cieslak. Well, let's start with the fact that I did pick Lawrence, like a lot of you probably did, but I picked Lawrence by stoppage. I thought that he would get Cieslak out of there somewhere around the fifth or sixth round, but that didn't happen. So let's get to the pros and the cons. The pros would be that Lawrence did a pretty good job of trying to mix his punches up. He was throwing the straight right hand. He was throwing the looping right, but he did a very good amount of body work to try to get Michael to drop his hands. But I got to get to the cons. The cons for Lawrence Okolie is, and me being a big Okolie guy, I just got to be real with it. The cons are I didn't like the fact that he was smothering his punches. I didn't like the fact that he seemed so amped up that he wanted to get a first, second, or third round stoppage. And I think that that hindered the work that he could have done. He could have used the jab more. And he has a great jab that he uses to set up his straight right hand. He did not use that enough. He was too right hand happy, I thought. I thought that he could have caught Michael coming in with some good check left hooks. He did not do that. The only thing he really did good, I thought, was he started going to the body a lot to try to get Michael to lower his hands. And I didn't like the fact that he not only was he holding, but he was allowing himself to get held way too much. As for Michael, the pros would be he took advantage of what he had. I mean, he was kind of dirty in there, but Lawrence was as well. Hitting Lawrence behind the head a lot, but in a lot of cases, that's all he had. He took advantage of that. He took advantage of hitting Lawrence behind the head when Lawrence was leaning in and coming in on him. He caught Lawrence with some decent left hooks. But now let me get to the cons for Michael. Too much holding, too much grappling. I get that he was trying to smother Lawrence's shots. I get that. But you have to have some type of offense to go with it. You can't just use holding and smothering as defense, but no offense. He could have used some of that time to go to the body. Instead, he used all that holding to hit Lawrence behind the head. And it just seems like that's pretty much all he had. He was pretty tough in there. I have to give him another pro on that. He was tough. I mean, he was catching some hard shots, but he hung tough in there. Now, let's talk about the fight a little bit. I thought that Lawrence made this fight way harder than it should have been. And I'm not saying that Michael Cieslak is not a tough fighter, but Lawrence made this fight way too hard. All he really needed to do was stand tall, use all six of that frame, pop that jab, and throw that straight right hand. And I think if he would have done that, he could have got the stoppage. But instead, he wanted to get in. For some reason, he wanted to get in real close and grapple when all he had to do was use his advantages. I felt that he gave his advantages up. I didn't like the fact that Lawrence was dipping so much, dipping down. He should just stood tall, popping that jab, using that right hand. Now, like I said earlier, I did like the body work. And I thought that that would help slow Michael down, and later on he would catch him with the right hand, but that's not what happened. As the fight goes on, we see that by the 10th round, Lawrence was starting to breathe with his mouth open. And I think that comes from the fact that he was so energized in those first 3 rounds to try to get Cieslak out of there that he burned his energy. He drained his energy, not to mention all of the holding and grappling. That can also slow you down. And I just think that he made this fight way harder than it should have been. Now, let's move on to what happens from here. We know that Lawrence got the decision. So what happens from here? Marcus Breedis was at the fight. For some reason, he was dressed like Mario from Super Mario Brothers. I really don't understand what that was all about. But he came up at ringside. Eddie Hearn called him up, and it sounds like that's the fight that they want to happen. Listen, I know Lawrence Okolie is itching to get the heavyweight, so he doesn't have to cut that weight. But Breidis is a fight that he has to take. Breidis is probably still, by most people's eyes, ranked as the top cruiserweight in the world. And I think that's a fight that Lawrence would need to take before he moves up to heavyweight to really get closure on the cruiserweight division. And I hope it's a fight that they can make next. Now, I hope that Lawrence also learned a lot from this fight, that he needs to get back to his style of being patient and stop being so anxious to get a knockout. Let the knockout come to you like he usually does. But hopefully Breidis is the next fight. Eddie Hearn said in the interview after the fight that he has a good relationship with his promotion team, so he doesn't see an issue with that fight being made. Well, fight fans, what did you think about it? Did you like the fact that we had boxing on Sunday, especially if you're a football fan like I am and there's no NFL on Sunday now? And what do you want to see Lawrence Okolie do? Do you want to see him fight Bradis next, or do you want to see him maybe just jump straight up to heavyweight and put the cruiserweight division behind him? Or maybe is there another cruiserweight that you would like to see him fight? And what about Michael Cieslak? I mean, were you okay with his performance? Did you like his performance? Did you think that maybe he was a little bit too dirty, or do you think like I do that both of them were a little bit dirty in there? Anyway, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep talking boxing. Other than that, that's all I got. I'll let y'all later.